Etta, for her part, remained free. Her only stipulation that she had to follow was that she had to enter a methadone program as soon as she got to New York. She agreed, and she followed through once she got there. Through her record label, Etta found a clinic, and she also began working at Chess in their publicity office. Her salary was $170 a week. Chess also paid another $50 a week for Etta's methadone. After a while, though, Etta was hooked on the methadone, and she then began mixing the methadone with heroin. Not long after that, Etta would get arrested yet again. Again, it was because there was a warrant out on her. The authorities were after her because of her drug bust in Texas, as well as the bad check she had written in California. Even though she wasn't convicted in Texas, she still was supposed to report to her parole officer, which she had conveniently forgotten to do. Etta got sent to Rikers Prison while the authorities figured out what their next move would be. After about 3 weeks, Chess Records bailed her out. Afterwards, Etta went back to California to face her bad check charges. When her day in court came, the judge decided to put Etta in a drug program that he hoped would help her overcome her drug problems, as well as her self-destructive behavior. This meant that Etta had to check into the Tarzana Psychiatric Hospital, where she would remain for the next 17 months. While she was admitted at the hospital, Etta met a man named Sam Dennis, who was an ex-junkie. Etta thought that he was both smart and handsome. While it was against the rules for patients to mess around, Etta and Sam started doing so anyway. Meanwhile, Etta was getting herself together. She was clean, she was happy, and she really felt like she had really turned her life around. When she left Tarzana, Etta and Sam moved in together, and they lived in an apartment in Topanga Canyon. However, since she was still married to Artis, there was no talk of Etta and Sam tying the knot. Not long after this, Etta discovered that she was pregnant. In April of 1975, she had her second son, Sam Etto. His name was a mix of Sam's and Etta's. Unfortunately, by this point, Sam began to show his true colors. He'd begun drinking heavily, and he also backslid into being an addict. On top of that, he wouldn't work because he was happy to live off of whatever money Etta earned. Also around this time, Etta left Chess Records after 16 years on the label. While she had happy memories from having been there, she never received 1 penny of royalties from Chess Records. Despite all her great records and her nearly 20 years in the business, Etta couldn't even get a phone at her house. This is because of all her previous bills that she'd ignored, and she was finally able to get one when someone gave her the idea of using the side entrance to her house as her street address. This worked because her house was on a corner. Getting back to Sam, he started hanging out with street junkies and basically started getting high 24/7. Etta eventually kicked him out. Sort of. Actually, it was her mother Dorothy who had done it for her. Sam had started acting wild and threatening to become violent, which scared Etta. Her mother then got the law involved, which scared Sam away. Etta, after 6 years of being clean, found herself using again. Just like she did before, she reasoned away her drug use, thinking that since it wasn't heroin, she could handle it. In 1981, while she was on the road in Dallas, Etta's husband Artis unexpectedly showed up at one of her sound checks. He was nearly done with his 10-year sentence, and during that time, he and Etta had only ridden each other a couple of times, so she had no idea what was going on with him. Artis told Etta that he was out of jail on parole on the weekends, and in a few months he'd be out for good. From that point, they were back together again. Etta always appreciated that Artis didn't care about trying to be her manager or hanging out with famous people. He just wanted to be with her. Aside from this, even reconciling with her husband wasn't going to stop Etta from getting high on brocane. When it came to her career, at this point it hit rock bottom. She'd resorted to calling clubs, disguising her voice as she tried to get herself booked. One dive bar she went to perform in was so small that she had to get dressed across the street from it. Eventually, though, Etta began to get gigs in places like Seattle and New Orleans, and she finally decided, again, to stay clean. Etta began singing the national anthem at Los Angeles Rams football games. And she was excited when she got to sing when the Saints go marching in at the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles. Etta was on a new high after this. She was proud to be sober and proud that being with a man like Artis helped make such a positive difference in her life. Soon Etta began performing at blues festivals all over the United States as well as overseas. She began seeing more money than she had in years. As usual, though, her insidious drug habit would pop up again. This time, her problem was with a legal drug, codeine. Later, confronting her issue head on, Etta checked herself into the Betty Ford Clinic. She liked the principles that they used to help you get clean at the clinic because they combined belief in God with psychology. After 28 days, Etta emerged from the clinic not only clean and sober, but with a new understanding of herself. She also had one more thought that she had to see through. She wanted to meet Minnesota Fats. She had to know, once and for all, whether he was her father or not. We're going to take a time out from our story to ask you to like, subscribe, share, comment, hit that notification bell, and repeat when it comes to our videos. Now, back to our story. Flashing back to when Etta was a junkie in the 1960s, she heard about her would-be father from the actor Willie Best. Etta would cop from Willie because he was a junkie too, but he also kept high-quality product. One day, Willie told her that she looked just like her papa, Minnesota Fats. When she heard that name, she suddenly remembered that years before her mother had mentioned that name to her. One day, Dorothy had told Etta, "Your daddy's a white boy, a real famous white boy, one of those slick white boys." When Etta asked for more information, Dorothy suddenly clammed up. Then one day while watching television, Dorothy called Etta over to her and said, "You keep bugging me about your daddy? Well, there he is." On TV, Minnesota Fats was being interviewed. When Etta saw his features and the way that he turned his head, she was convinced that this time Dorothy wasn't lying. Minnesota Fats was her daddy. How did Willie Best know this information? Because back in the day, he used to pimp on the side of acting, and one of the women in his stable was Etta's mother. Willie and Minnesota Fats were tight at the time, and Fats loved him some black women. That's why Willie turned him on to one of his girls, and that's how Fats got hooked up with Dorothy. Currently, Etta found out that Fats was now living in Nashville, Tennessee. While in Nashville working on an album, Etta set time aside to seek out Fats. To that end, she called him and asked could she come see him, and he said that she could, and arrangements were made for the two to meet the next day. When she got there, she asked him if he remembered hanging out with Willie Best back in the 1930s. Fats said that he did, and just as Etta was about to ask him about her mother, Fats followed up his earlier comment with, "I don't remember everything. I wish I did, but I don't." Etta never did ask him about her mother or about him being her father. When she got ready to leave, she and Fats simply shook hands, and that was that. Getting back to Etta's career, she began appearing in movies such as Tap and Reform School Girls. Additionally, companies began calling her to use her old songs in commercials. In one surprising twist, Chess Records' catalog had been purchased by MCA, who in turn began arranging new contracts with original artists such as Etta. This meant that she was finally receiving royalties from the work that she had done at Chess. Her son Danto had become a drummer. Additionally, he and his brother Semedo formed a rap duo called the James Outlaws. Unlike many artists from her time, Etta had come to appreciate rap music. Even though she didn't like all of it, she thought that some of it was brilliant, and she also liked how honest and raw it was. Now that she was getting her life in order, Etta even moved from South Central to the suburbs. She had a house with a swimming pool and room for her dogs to run around, and had a great view that let you see the sunset on the mountains every evening. In 1993, Etta was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and in that same year, she released the Billie Holiday tribute album that was titled Mystery Lady, Songs by Billie Holiday. The album would win Etta her first Grammy Award. In 1998, Etta released the album Life, Love, and Blues, and this album was remarkable because it featured both her sons as backing musicians in her band, and they had also become a part of her touring band. In the early 2000s, Etta was inducted into both the Blues Hall of Fame and the Rockabilly Hall of Fame. In 2005, Etta would win another Grammy for her album Let's Roll. In 2008, the singer Beyonce portrayed Etta in the movie Cadillac Records. In the movie, Beyonce sang Etta's song At Last. Beyonce would also sing the song at President Barack Obama's inauguration in 2009. After this, Etta began to complain publicly. "You know your president, the one with the big ears? Wait a minute, he ain't my president. I tell you, that woman he had singing for him, singing my song, she gonna get her ass whooped," Etta commented. She also went on to say that she couldn't stand Beyonce. Later, though, Etta said that she was only joking and that her comments came from a place of jealousy. "I was feeling left out of something that was basically mine," she said. She also added that she could have performed the song better than Beyonce did. By 2010, Etta had begun suffering from leukemia, Alzheimer's disease, and kidney failure. In November of 2011, Etta released her final album, titled The Dreamer. She also announced that after the album's release, she would be retiring from performing after 50 years in the music business. Sadly, a little over 2 months later, Etta James passed away on January 20th, 2012, from complications related to leukemia. She was 73 years old. Her funeral was presided over by the Reverend Al Sharpton, while both Stevie Wonder and Christina Aguilera gave musical tributes. President Obama sent a message that was read by Sharpton prior to the start of the funeral, and United States Representative Maxine Waters spoke at the funeral as well. Etta James crafted a career that inspired many artists both during and after her lifetime. Adele, Christina Aguilera, Beyonce, Janis Joplin, Diana Ross, Rod Stewart, the Rolling Stones, and Amy Winehouse, among others, have stated that they were inspired by Etta. Just like her fans felt, there was something in her voice, in her delivery, and in her style that spoke to them. Even in the throes of her many issues off stage, when she performed, Etta was always compelling. She undoubtedly is one of the greatest vocalists of all time, regardless of genre. So there it is, the story of Etta James. A story so compelling, a story so winding, and a story with so many parts to it. It took us 6 parts to do it. We have reached the conclusion of what was not intended to be, but eventually wound up being a mini-series of sorts. Thank you for checking out our video. Hopefully you watched all of them. If you didn't, please go back and check out the other ones. You owe it to yourself to get the full story. We appreciate you spending the time that you have with us. Please be aware that we have other videos too. We have other stories about other artists. We have mini-series on Smokey Robinson. We have mini-series on Jackie Wilson, Tammy Terrell. Please take time to check those out. Specifically Jackie Wilson and Tammy. These are artists that have been forgotten by time. You know their names, but you don't really know their stories. Check those out, and we know that you'll like them. Thanks again. Be on the lookout for our next releases, and we'll see you soon.